Welcome to D&D Backstory. This is the origin of Sergeant Edmund Litswift, the human battle master.
Goddamn wizards.
Sergeant Edmund Litswift, retired, trudges begrudgingly up a winding switchback. A plain-looking man in plain leather and chain. He is panting heavily and limping slightly, favoring his right leg. On his hip, he wears a battered longsword, and a comically overstuffed pack sits upon his shoulders with a shield, short bow, and a halberd, all tied down over the outside.
Stupid goddamn goblins.
He is smeared with greenish blood, and an arrow shaft protrudes from his left greave. Every few minutes, he methodically checks a pouch at his waist, assuring himself that the singular bright red feather contained within remains undamaged and undisturbed. He glances upwards towards a cave set higher into the mountain. Though it is no more than a mile above him, the winding nature of the path and the dangerous slope mean he has several hours of climbing ahead of him. Thunder rumbles, suddenly and deafeningly, and the rain begins to pour down upon the grizzled veteran. He stops briefly, slumps his shoulders, then nods grimly and sets off again with an aggrieved sigh.
Stupid goddamn adventures.
Edmund was born to two moderately famous adventurers and grew up hearing incredible tales of their escapades, carving through bands of marauders, riding astride great eagles into golden cities, sailing across the jeweled bay of Tenju while battling sea serpents and selkies. The only child of these local legends, people expected great things from Edmund. These same people were also, on the whole, regularly a bit disappointed. An unassuming child, Edmund was never the quickest of wit or the keenest of eye, a rather scrawny lad, though never a sickly one. Indeed, the only trait that truly set Edmund apart from his peers was his relentless determination and stubbornness. The hours upon hours spent training with his father proved consistently brutal and exhausting for young Edmund, yet he could be found near every night in the courtyard, drilling this maneuver or that technique long towards the dawn. He always had to take his time in reading, but he read and reread his school texts until he could recite them by rote. From ages 5 through 9, every horse Edmund was mounted upon took off and tried to buck him, but he never once let himself be thrown. And thus, by the time he turned 16, Edmund had become a somewhat strapping, mostly competent young man. And when the City Watch offered him a job, he was quick to accept. Edmund quickly rose through the ranks, developing a reputation for steadfastly tracking down brawlers and ne'er-do-wells, regardless of how long it might take him to bring them to justice. A full sergeant at the age of 27, Edmund always held on to dreams of adventuring like his parents, but was quite content with his position in life. He got to occasionally knock heads together, be a force for good and for order. He was good at his job and happy with his life, until...
Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. The moment you've all been waiting for is coming up. It's been an exciting tournament, folks, but like all good things, this too must come to an end. So take your seats and then get ready to leave them, because it's time to crown this year's City Watch Bare Knuckle Champion!
I say, Sergeant, let's have a good, clean match out there.
Yep. You too, Loot.
And don't you go easy on me, my boy. I may be your superior officer, but today I am but another man striving for the prize, eh?
Yep. Striving for the prize, sir. Hey, sir.
Yes, what is it, my good man?
You don't, want to take out your monocle?
Yes, quite right. Jenkins, my monocle case.
Yes, sir, right away, sir.
In the challenger's corner, the dapper chap with a mean left hook, the gentleman pugilist. And you know he put on his good fighting trousers today, folks. Lieutenant Reginald Regison! And in the other corner, looking to defend his title for the 4th year running, he's a lean, mean, brawling machine, the grizzled young veteran, the bloodhound of the BRAA district, your champion and mine, Sergeant Edmund Litswift!
3 moves. Easy. Catch it close, throw up his guard, step in with a haymaker right to that stupid fucking monocle. Catch. Throw up the arm. Step.
The crowd gasps in horror and shock.
Oh no, folks! It looks like Litswift landed poorly. This doesn't look good. No, stay down, kid. Don't walk it. Oh, this could be bad, folks. We may have to call the match here.
I'm sorry, son. If I could have been here when it happened, or even within the week, I could have helped you. But the muscle has already begun the process of reattaching to the bone, and it is beyond my powers to correct its course. I'm afraid your days of chasing down hooligans are over.
Terribly sorry, lad. Dreadful shame, dreadful shame. You'll have your full pension, of course, and I shall see about having a plaque commissioned for you. Should soften the sting some, wouldn't you say, Mr. Litswift? Silver, perhaps. Yes, quite.
Edmund bore this bad news as all proud, determined, suddenly adrift gentlemen are wont to do, stoically and drunkenly. He drank, brawled, and staggered across the sections of town that had once been his jurisdiction, pondering what his life might have been if he had just been born more extraordinary. For well over a year he continued this behavior, until a chance encounter with a bespectacled, mustachioed gnome in a tavern sparked a fire in the man who had once dreamed of adventuring like his parents had.
Young man, you look as though you're in need of something. A change of scenery, perhaps. A purpose, yes. The satisfaction of a job well done.
What I need is another drink. My little gnomish friend.
That I can certainly provide, so long as you'll provide me with a listening ear. For I am in need of a man for a job, yes. A delicate one, and a difficult one. Tell me, what do you know about phoenixes?
Big red birds, right?
Got it in one, my inebriated friend. Now, what is your name? I am the wizard Schneebly. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
Thunder rumbles, much further into the distance than we last heard it. A now thoroughly bedraggled and still fully armored Sergeant Edmund Litswift is seated in a deep, plush red armchair, with a fire roaring in front of him, and a robed gnomish figure seated across from him. The gnome is muttering excitedly to himself, examining the glowing red feather in his hands.
Here you go. 1 phoenix feather. So, what's it for, anyway?
Beg pardon?
The feather. Do you need it to open a portal to the elemental plane of fire? Are you trying to conjure an ancient fire elemental? Have you been researching some sort of devastating new fireball spell? Come on.
The gnome peers over at Edmund and pushes his spectacles up the bridge of his nose, seeming to take the damp sergeant's measure. Then, slowly, he nods and reaches his right hand into a pocket in space, from which he draws an impossibly large and incredibly ornate tome. He flips through pages, peering at Edmund all the while, before finally pausing and brandishing the feather.
No, my cause is at once far more and far less grand than any such arcane nonsense as all that. My dear man, I am simply...
He turns the book about dramatically.
A collector.
And he reveals to Edmund a row of brightly colored feathers, laid out neatly between the pages of the grand tome, neatly labeled and laminated with a small arcane field.
Well, what do you think? I told you you were the right man for this job. I have no need for grand heroes and majestic adventurers, no! What I find myself in need of more and more these days is a man who simply will not give up, even when it's good for him. Now, I have more work for you if you're interested.
The rain-drenched soldier eventually removes his dumbfounded eyes from the feather collection proudly displayed in front of him, turning to meet the gnome's thoughtful gaze. He blinks and thinks of the pouch of gold sitting on his lap, and of the fine brandy in his hand. He thinks, too, of his family's cellars, wherein he could almost certainly locate an even finer beverage. He considers the ache in his bum leg, the numerous slashes and dents in his armor, and the fact that he had just spent 2 weeks risking his life for a stupid, God's damned feather. Sergeant Edmund Litswift, retired, thinks all this, and knocks back his brandy in one decisive gulp. He gives the empty glass one last questioning glance, and then holds it out to the gnome.
Tell me about this job, Schneebly. Man's gotta take what work he can get these days. But be a buddy and pour me a double, yeah? The stupid goddamn goblins punctured my ale skin on their second volley, and I've got 3 days of thirst to make up for.
Thanks for watching. You can find download links for this character's sheets in the description below. And if you'd like any advice on how to play them or how to DM for them, check out the how-to video in the description. We've also got a Patreon where you can gain access to other fun D&D backstory content in the description. To find all of our other characters and how-to videos, head over to the channel by clicking the D&D backstory below.